as the night gently wraps itself around you, and your breath begins to settle. Allow your mind to soften once more. What if, beneath everything you see, everything you feel, everything you chase or fear, there was a deeper pattern, a quiet, invisible rhythm, carrying you through the unknown? Tonight, let's rest in that knowing, and let it carry you home. And right now, whether you realize it or not, you're standing in that openness. You're already resting in that vast, empty nature of all things. And once you begin to trust it, truly trust it, you'll start to sense something remarkable moving beneath the surface of your experience. Not randomness, not meaningless chaos, but a pattern, an elegant, subtle interdependence, a quiet order that doesn't always make sense to the restless, thinking mind, but speaks clearly to the one that has grown still. You begin to realize something both humbling and comforting. Nothing arises alone, nothing happens without a cause, and nothing, not even your own pain, exists in isolation. This is the next unfolding, the next step on this path of wisdom. It's what Buddhism calls dependent origination, the understanding that everything arises based on conditions. Not just the obvious ones we can point to, but countless layers of subtle, invisible causes, ripples stretching far beyond what the eye can see or the mind can grasp. And this isn't just philosophy for philosophy's sake. It's a living mirror, quietly showing you how your life, your reactions, your emotions, even your habits, are not isolated events. They are linked, conditioned, intertwined. You weren't born into a vacuum. Your thoughts didn't appear out of nowhere. The habits you carry today were shaped over time. The fears you hold now were formed by old experiences, by careless words spoken, by rooms you've lived in, by patterns repeated until they felt like identity. But when you truly see that nothing exists independently, when you really feel it in your bones, something remarkable happens. You begin to loosen the old, tired narrative that says, "This is just who I am." Because if everything arises from conditions, then everything can change. If your pain is conditioned, it can be unconditioned. If your anger has roots, those roots can be seen, understood, and gently released. And that realization gives you more than hope. It gives you a path, a way forward. Dependent origination teaches us that we are not isolated islands. We are strands woven into an infinite, delicate web, every thread affecting the others in ways seen and unseen. Your mood affects your thoughts. Your food affects your energy. Your breath affects your nervous system. And your presence, it affects everyone around you. Nothing stands alone. And the deeper you understand this, the more gently, wisely, and compassionately you begin to live. Because when something goes wrong, the mind instinctively loves to hunt for a single cause. One person to blame, one mistake to regret. But life doesn't work like that. There are no single-threaded problems. No standalone emotions. No isolated moments. Every experience is a result of a vast, interconnected constellation of influences, some visible, most not. And when you start to accept this, something beautiful softens within you. You stop trying to control every last detail. You stop obsessing over one failure, one bad decision, one painful moment. You begin to trust the complexity, the unfolding, the bigger picture that your mind may not always comprehend, but your heart quietly recognizes. And that trust, it doesn't make you passive. It makes you more awake. You start looking deeper. When someone lashes out at you, you begin to sense the layers beneath their anger, the old fears, the conditioning, the inherited pain from lives they've carried before you even met them. You don't excuse harm, but you stop taking it personally. You stop reducing people to their worst moments. You remember that they, too, are shaped by causes, and in that remembering, space opens for compassion. This way of seeing, it changes everything. Let's say, for example, you're feeling anxious. Instead of labeling it a flaw, or blaming yourself, you trace its causes. Maybe it's connected to a restless night, too much caffeine, an old wound you've buried, a thought pattern from years ago, still echoing inside you, and instead of judging yourself, you gently begin to untangle the web. Not with harshness, but with curiosity. You stop treating your mind like a problem to fix, and start seeing it as a beautiful, intricate system, one that can be understood, softened, and tended to. And this understanding brings freedom. Not because you can control every condition, but because you stop feeling powerless in front of them. You begin to recognize, if this came together through causes, then with awareness, new causes can be planted. And in that, there's hope, a path, a gentle way forward. And slowly, you realize that even the smallest shifts matter. That planting one tiny seed of mindfulness today quietly affects how you will respond to life tomorrow. That caring for your body, with nourishment, with rest, with stillness, softens the restless chatter of your mind. That one compassionate choice, spoken or unspoken, ripples out into your relationships in ways you might never fully see, but that still shape everything. This is the quiet, beautiful wisdom that arises when you begin to see how everything is connected. The law of dependent origination not only reveals how things come into being, it also opens your eyes to impermanence in a very real, very practical way. Because if things arise from causes, and those causes inevitably change, then whatever has arisen will also pass. No feeling lasts forever. No thought clings indefinitely. No state of mind is final. Everything flows. Everything evolves. Everything moves. And if you can begin to trust this, not as a theory, but as a lived experience, you'll stop clinging so tightly. You'll start holding your pain with a little more spaciousness, because you know it's moving, passing, softening. Even now, you'll hold your joy with deep gratitude, because you know it too is part of a wave, a precious moment to savor, but not grasp. And this does not mean you become indifferent or detached. On the contrary, you begin to care more deeply. But your care becomes wiser, more balanced. You stop obsessing over results, and start focusing on conditions. Instead of asking, why don't I feel peaceful yet? You begin asking, what habits support peace in me? What thoughts disturb it? What environments nourish it? You start living more like a gentle gardener, attending to the soil, the water, the light, without forcing the flower to bloom, but creating the right space for it to rise naturally. And just like that, you begin to see others differently too. You realize that their behavior is also conditioned, that their struggles come from somewhere, that the stories they carry weren't born overnight. And this softens you. It expands your patience. It doesn't make you naive, it makes you grounded. Firm not in control, but in understanding. Because the teaching of dependent origination doesn't just explain suffering. It quietly reveals the way toward healing. It reminds you that no transformation happens in isolation. That healing happens in relationship, in community, in safe, nourishing spaces, in new patterns, built slowly over time. This is why your surroundings matter. This is why community matters. You start choosing what you let into your mind, your life, and your body more carefully. Not because you're afraid, but because you now see, you are always being shaped. And this teaching also gently dissolves the old illusion of control. Not to leave you powerless, but to finally set you free from the exhausting obsession with trying to control what is beyond your reach. You begin focusing instead on what truly is within your reach. Your actions, your attention, your speech, your inner response to each moment. You let go of needing to predict every outcome, and you shift your precious energy towards simply showing up well in this one singular, living moment, knowing that this moment, your presence here, contributes to what will come next. And there, quietly, peace begins to rise, because the heavy burden of trying to manage the future starts to ease. You begin to understand, in your bones, that the future isn't some blank canvas you alone can control. It's a living field, shaped by what you water today. So you begin watering it more wisely. You bring a little more presence into your choices. You align your energy with the values you know matter most. Not perfectly, but steadily. And the more deeply you live this way, the more reverence you feel for the unseen. For the slow, subtle, mysterious web of causes and conditions quietly shaping each moment of your life. You begin to trust the process, even when you can't see all the threads. You begin to trust that your efforts, though small, are never wasted. Because even the smallest cause contributes to change. And this shift, too, begins to ease the heavy weight of guilt. You stop believing you were supposed to know everything before you did. You stop punishing yourself for what you didn't yet understand. You begin to see it clearly. You were conditioned to, and now, knowing a little more, you can do a little better. And in that, is enough. That is the path, and it's unfolding, gently, one condition at a time. This teaching invites humility as well. Because no one stands alone. No success is isolated. No failure is total. You begin to see how every beautiful thing in your life has been quietly supported by teachers you met, by kindness you received, by sacrifices made by others you may never even know. And then, quietly, something else dawns within you. You begin to realize that you may never truly know all the unseen threads that have supported your life. You may never fully grasp the kindnesses you've received, the sacrifices others made without recognition, the invisible ways the world has held you. And this awareness makes you grateful, not in a fleeting, polite way, but in a deep, reverent way that humbles you. It makes you want to give back, to become a positive condition in someone else's life, to quietly contribute to the great web of existence in a way that softens suffering, that lightens a burden, even if no one ever sees it. That's the quiet power of dependent origination. It builds in you a sense of responsibility, not one rooted in fear, or pressure, or guilt, but one born of care, of tenderness, of a simple, steady understanding that what you do matters. Even if the effects take years to bloom, even if you never witness the harvest. It's a call to live intentionally, to stop asking, will this fix everything? And to start asking, is this one step toward truth? Toward compassion? Toward wisdom? And you find yourself less obsessed with immediate results, more trusting of the process. You grow a little more patient, with yourself, and with others, because you see how we're all caught in our own loops, our own conditioned patterns. You realize that people aren't their actions alone, they are the conditions behind those actions. It doesn't excuse harm. It doesn't mean you pretend pain never happened. But it helps you understand why pain repeats itself. And in that understanding, forgiveness becomes a little more possible. Not by forgetting, but by releasing the illusion that it was ever fully personal. You start to see your own conditioning more clearly too. The stories you inherited without knowing. The assumptions you never questioned. The old patterns you thought were you. And instead of shame, you feel something different, empowerment. Because now, you can shift them, not all at once, not overnight, but gradually, through new choices, through deeper awareness, through better questions. Even your meditation practice becomes gentler in this light. You stop forcing silence. You stop wrestling with your mind. And you begin to understand that calm isn't something you chase, it's something that arises naturally when the right conditions are in place. A slower breath, a relaxed body, a kind attention. You stop fighting the noise. And instead, you tend to the ground. And over time, stillness rises, not as a prize, but as a natural response to the space you've made for it. You begin to trust cause and effect, not as a cold, mechanical rule, but as a deep, compassionate rhythm of life. And this trust, it changes your relationship with uncertainty. You stop needing to control every outcome. You begin to focus on your side of the web, on the thread you hold. You tend to your own piece of the weave, and trust that doing so supports the whole. And in that trust, there's peace, because even when life feels chaotic, you sense, sometimes barely, sometimes clearly, that deeper weave. The invisible threads connecting your pain to your healing, your confusion to your growth, your isolation to your eventual connection. You stop seeing your life as a collection of broken, scattered pieces. You begin to sense it as a tapestry, one still being woven, where every choice matters, where every small shift in thought, every breath taken with awareness, every kind word offered, it all ripples, it all shapes. And when life feels too heavy, too complicated, too much, you don't freeze. You return to the basics, to the small, quiet choices. You ask yourself, what is one condition I can shift right now? Can you soften your breath? Can you unclench your jaw? Can you speak one word more gently? Can you choose a thought that leans toward kindness? And you begin to see, these aren't small things. These are the path itself. Because in a world built on interdependence, there are no neutral moments. Everything you do, think, say, is part of something larger. And when you remember this, not as a theory but as a felt, lived experience, you begin to walk differently. You speak more mindfully. You listen more fully. You live not out of pressure, but out of reverence, out of trust, in the web you're already part of, in the quiet net that's holding you, even now. And the more you sense this endless weave of causes and conditions, the more one tender, inevitable question begins to echo beneath it all. Who is the one experiencing this? The thoughts, the roles, the reactions, the fleeting feelings. They come and go, shift and change, rise and fade. But if everything is interdependent, if all of it is shaped by what surrounds it, then what is this thing we call me? As you gently drift into rest, remember, you are not alone in this unfolding. You are part of something vast, intricate, and beautifully interconnected. Every breath, every thought, every quiet moment matters. If this reflection has brought you a little more peace tonight, a little more clarity in the quiet spaces within you, I invite you to subscribe to Daily Dharma Wisdom. There are many more gentle journeys waiting for you here, to help you reconnect, release, and rest deeply. And if you feel this message could ease someone else's heart, please share this video with them. Let's quietly ripple kindness into places we may never reach ourselves. Before you go, remember to like this video if it soothed you, and feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to hear which part spoke to you most. Until next time, may you sleep well, may you be at ease, and may you trust the web that holds you, always.